So previously I did a review of the Nova Color paint, which I really liked. And I have now picked up a set of their Fluid Extender and Medium. And so now we're gonna do a review of the Nova Paint pouring medium, and we're gonna compare it to the other 11 pouring mediums that I did a video on, where I did a roundup to see which ones were the best, and we'll see how this pouring medium holds up to those. All right, so we're gonna mix this up. The Nova paints are not as thick as some of the other paints out there, and so I usually have to mix them up. They're more of a soft body paint than a heavy body paint, so I usually have to mix them up really good. And as you can see, they're pretty thin themselves. Let me show you over here. They're pretty thin themselves already. So, and the medium is very liquidy. It doesn't really have a yellow tint to it like some of the other pouring mediums, but it's very liquidy. So I don't think I'm going to be able to dilute this a ton. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn this on, and we're going to put maybe 30. I'm going to start with 30. Take a little bit out just so I get right to 30. Okay, we're going to go 30 grams of paint. And we're just going to put increments of 10 grams of the pouring medium in. As you can see, it's really liquidy. There we go. Just give that a mix here. And it's also very sticky. And so what happens when you have a sticky medium is it doesn't flow like some other mediums. Kind of see that there. So that thing weighs 2, so we're going to put another 10 grams in. I know people ask why I use grams a lot. It's just easier to deal with grams when I'm doing measurements or single use mixing. And I'm usually not doing a ton. If I was doing a huge mix, I'd use ounces, but generally when I'm making the smaller batches, it's easier to use grams. See, there we go. That's kind of the thickness that I want. So that's a 3 parts medium to 1 part paint. Sorry, 3 parts paint to 2 parts medium. Man, I really messed that up. So I don't think I want a whole 10 grams to get where I want to be, but I think 5 grams will do it. So this turns into 6 parts. There we go, that's what I'm looking for. So this turns into about 6 parts paint to 4 or 5 parts medium. And that's really what I'm looking for. So we're going to do all the paints up that way. It mixes really well. I didn't have any problem mixing the paint. I had a couple of dry pieces from the edge of the paint when I used this last. So you want to look at that. But it mixed really well. I didn't have any problems, and it mixed quickly. So in that regard, it gets a good score. I don't think it's quite as good as like the Liquitex pouring medium, but it's up there. So let me mix up my other colors and we'll come back. All right, so I mixed all of these up just to show you again how differently this drips than other paints. Just so interesting. You gotta, not all paints drip nice like glue or Floetrol or even Liquitex pouring medium, although it does tend to be sticky like this also. I did a drip test to make sure they're all the same. These are the 4, you know, I want not, waste not, so I use my 1 paper a lot, but the white needed a little bit extra, so I added some more. But overall it looks pretty good. I think I just want to do a dirty pour. So let's pull all these back here. I'm wondering what color I want to come out first. Probably the red. And this is just a leftover canvas that I didn't like, so we're going to pour right on top of it. If I had to classify this, the thickness of the paint, I'd put it at medium. Oh, I probably want white after that. Just under medium thickness. And it's so interesting how this is going in. If you notice, the white stayed down, the black when I poured it over, and it just kind of went right over it. So the white is definitely a dense, I mean, it's titanium white, so that's what I would expect, but some titanium whites just aren't the same. But this one is very dense. See how the other paints just, they go right on top of it. I wish I would have put this on spinner. Oh, that's not good. You can see the flocculation that's happening already. That's definitely not good. Although I do love the fingerlings that I'm getting here. So you can't really tell, but the center here is like raised up. Because this is so sticky, you can kind of hear it on my fingers. Because this is so sticky, it's mounding. And I was not expecting that. It flows really nice. Turn it this way so you can see good. Should have known that yellow would kind of turn green with the black. Sometimes you forget. And this has slowed down. I didn't pour hardly any off, but this has slowed down so much. This happens with Liquitex too. It's so sticky. As it thins out, it just wants to stick to everything, including the painting surface you're on. I'll definitely have to speed this up. All right, so it's 12 hours later. And the first thing I need to say is I had a lot of lumps. You can kind of see it in the light here. Because when I grabbed the red, I pulled I used my popsicle stick to pull the outside, and there was a bunch of dried stuff in there. So I kind of hurt myself there. So I won't hold that against this pouring medium by any means. But in the end, the color looks great. The color comes out great, just like GAC 800, just like Liquitex. It's nice and shiny, you can see. The dot's really there because I didn't mix very well. And then I made some touch-ups. You can kind of see that in the corner there. So that looks really good. The color looks really good. I really like the Nova color. They're a little thinner than some of the other ones, so I can't put as much pouring medium. But overall, the color's great. I mentioned before I wasn't thinking about the Indian yellow and the black turning green here, but again, this was a test, so I'm not too worried about that. One thing I didn't like, now today it's been about almost 24 hours since I did this. I checked it 4 hours after I poured it, and this was dry to the touch already. So this dries so fast, and I think that's part of the reason why when I was trying to get the one corner, it just took so long because it was essentially drying too fast. And that's one thing I really don't like about this. Honestly, I would not use this as pouring medium by itself. I might need to try it thinned way down, but right now I would not use it as pouring medium by itself. However, this is way cheaper than like Liquitex or GAC 800, 20, 30% cheaper. So adding like 10% to my alternative pouring medium like Floetrol or glue would give those things some nice shine, also add some additional strength and stickiness. So I think that's how I might use this going forward. And if you want to see how this compares to the other 11 pouring mediums that I did, this is the video for you.